everyone! The other day I finally sat down and finished playing Pokemon Shield. It was my first Pokemon game and it was pretty fun. So I've been thinking a lot about Pokemon lately, as you can imagine, and what's a better way to channel this other than taking Pokemon and designing human characters based on them? So today I'm going to be designing human versions of the Eeveelutions. They are not exactly meant to be human Pokemons as much as they are meant to portray the perfect Pokemon trainer for that specific Eeveelution. In my eyes anyways. Like usual, feel free to name these characters in the comments. And now, without further ado, let's get to it. Let's start off with the beginning of the Eeveelutions, Eevee. Eevee is a normal type Pokemon that has the ability to evolve into one of 8 different Pokemons with different types. They are incredibly cute and they are seen by the fans and by Pokemon themselves as the second main mascot right after Pikachu. That's very apparent, especially considering that the Let's Go series is composed of Let's Go Pikachu and Let's Go Eevee. It is said that their genetic makeup is a bit unstable, which makes it so that their biology can be affected by their environment. Eevee's perfect trainer, in my opinion, would have to be a child. Both children and Eevees are in the beginning stages of life. They can be easily influenced and they have endless potential. I imagine that this trainer lives in a small town near a wooded area with her family. She's sweet and really extroverted, she's very sporty and energetic, and her favorite thing to do is take her Eevee on little adventures in the woods. Whether it being playing pretend or baby's first Pokemon battle, Eevee always gets home pretty happy and tired. When sleep time comes around, she's the first one to fall asleep. She loves cozy sweater, warm drinks, and homemade sweets. Her hair is always shaggy, and at first I was going to give her pigtails, but I imagined her with short hair and that image was so sweet that I had to do it. It probably felt like the right decision to me because up until I was 5 years old, I had short shaggy hair as well. Next up we have Vaporeon. All the actual Eeveelutions are going to be adults or young adults / teens, because if we consider pre-evolution Eevee as a child, then Eeveelutions need to be the step after that, i.e. teens, adults, and elders. I originally had a different idea for Vaporeon, but the idea of an old sea captain just wouldn't leave my mind. And I feel like in part it might be because I grew up reading Tintin. My audience is mostly from the States, so I'm not sure if most of you know what I'm talking about, but Tintin is an European comic series written and drawn by Hergé, and it follows the adventures of the titular character Tintin and his dog Milou, as they essentially solve mysterious crimes and sometimes they travel to the moon. It's a pretty fun series. One of the characters in this series is an alcoholic sea captain called Captain Haddock, and God, he's so iconic. He is present in most of the books and he is the source of so much of the comedy. So, as tribute to Captain Haddock, Vaporeon's trainer is an old sea captain. He's very calm and stoic. Despite his age, he still commands his own ship to fish for codfish. His family insists that he should retire, but he still isn't quite ready to leave the sea behind yet. He always brings his Vaporeon with him anywhere he goes. He doesn't stay on land for too long, but when he does come back home, he spends most of his time looking after his granddaughter Eevee. He's a very devoted grandfather that takes care of all his grandchildren. He loves telling them tall tales of his sea voyages. The old kids are finally starting to realize that their grandpa loves to exaggerate, but none of them has the heart to tell that to bright-eyed Eevee. He used to smoke a lot, but since he doesn't want Eevee to grow up to be a smoker, he only uses his pipe to blow bubbles. On to Leafeon. Leafeon is the grass-type evolution, and because of that, I wanted to design Leafeon as a cottagecore character. At first, Leafeon was going to be the elder of the group, but after I got the idea of a sea captain, that honor went to Vaporeon. Essentially, I swapped concepts, and now Leafeon is a really cute and soft girl. She's around 14, and she's still a student. I actually got pretty smart there and gave her a dress that kinda looks like a Sailor Fuku, and the bow of her Fuku is just like Leafeon's tail. I'm probably a bit too proud of this one. Leafeon is a sweet, nice and quiet girl. She's a bit shy and tends to keep to herself. She doesn't have many friends, but for the ones that she has, she's a ride or die. She loves gardening, so much so that if she isn't actively taking care of her garden, she's most likely doing either botanical sketches of her favorite plants or detailed illustrations of her precious Leafeon. She's Eevee's big sister and they are pretty close. She also loves to explore the wooded area next to her home, so they end up spending a lot of time together. Leafeon takes care of Eevee, watches over her to make sure she doesn't get into trouble or get hurt, and she usually brings with her a great deal of homemade goods and cakes baked by her for them to snack on during the afternoon. Leafeon is one of the people that insists that Vaporeon should retire. She loves her grandpa and she only wants the best for him, and she's afraid that something could happen when he's sailing and then getting help is much harder. She's worried. But Vaporeon is very stubborn and refuses to do so. Leafeon understands why, and she knows that he loves his job, but she still can't shake her nervousness about the subject. And finally, we have Flareon. Flareon was pretty hard for me to figure out. I really didn't know what I wanted to do with him, so I started to think about jobs that involve fire. A lot of them ended up being workshop jobs, as in metalwork and glass blowing. Glass blowing seemed pretty fun, so I went with that. The problem is that it's pretty hard to show that he's a glass blower because the way these artisans dress is pretty casual and really practical, so decorations were a bit out of the question. Also, Flareon is pretty fluffy, but a glass blower would never wear something that fluffy because that would be a safety hazard. I ended up making up for it by making his hair really fluffy. Everything about his personality is fiery, his passion for his craft, his love for his family and friends, even his temper is a bit extreme. He isn't aggressive or violent, nothing like that, but I'd be lying if I said he didn't have a bit of a temper. He spends most of his time in his workshop working on his elaborate glass projects. I love to imagine that he always has his Flareon by his side and that it actually makes part of his creative process, as in his Pokemon can start a furnace and can try to help out moderating the temperature of the workshop. He is almost the complete opposite of his grandfather Vaporeon, and because of that they don't see eye to eye most of the time. Is Eevee and Leafeon's cousin? They all live pretty close to one another, but they don't hang out all that much. Despite what you might think because of his height, Flareon is actually considerably older than Leafeon and Eevee, and so they just simply don't have that much in common. Flareon would sometimes babysit his cousins when they were younger, and he was a pretty fun babysitter for the kids, but he would always be the last resort, because he was actually a pretty bad babysitter. He was fun for the kids, but he wasn't all that responsible, so at the end of his visit, the house would be a mess, and the kids would be in a sugar rush. Over the years, they become less close, but Flareon still keeps an eye out for his cousin just in case they need him. And when they do, he's always ready to help out. And with that, thank you so much for watching. Leave a like and subscribe if you liked the video. If you want to see more stuff from me, I'm also on Instagram and Twitter at momopurin_chan and on Kara at momopurin. Thank you so much, and until next time, bye!